morning. Father Michael here. Today is my son Christopher's birthday. He would be 44 today. And I can't help wondering, since he died at 19, what his life would be like now, you know? Would he be married with children? Would he have gray hair, or would he be like his father and just pluck and color? Pluck and color. What would his career choice have been? Questions I really can't answer. It seems to me that his life, his beginning and his end, really are attached to two particular psalms in the Hebrew scriptures. So when his death date rolls around on March 27th, it's definitely Psalm 130. Out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord. From the depths of despair, O God, I call for help. But his birthday, today, it's definitely Psalm 118. This is the day that our God has made. Let us be glad and rejoice. When he passed, Chris was a typical postmodern teen in a lot of ways, although he would have hated my saying that. He kind of had an alternative group of friends, and although there was, some addictive behavior going on there, drinking, drugging, a kind of affectatious cynicism about the world and life, because that's a thing. But beneath all of that, he was a passionate person, and he was particularly solicitous to make justice happen around him. He, from the time he was a little kid, hated seeing other kids picked on, and he was always the one to swoop and to befriend unpopular kids, the fat kids, skinny kids, black kids, whatever. I remember watching the movie Mask with him, and he was only not even 10 years old, I think. And he just cried his eyes out, barely able to sleep afterwards. And he just kept saying, I would be his friend. And I knew that was true. And so I reassured him, I already know. Of course you would. He was sensitive, and he was creative, and did a lot of artwork in his short life. Projects that have now become like sacred relics to me. When I stop and think of him, I sometimes struggle to remember what he looked like. And I hate that, but it is what it is. It is what it is. The weird thing is, as parents, we think that we are leaving some kind of a patrimony, some kind of an inheritance for our children. But in my case, the roles have been reversed, and I have now inherited something of significance from both of my sons, but especially from Chris. Today's his birthday. It's a happy day. I remember so much of that birthing process, and oh my God, my mother had told me, since I was the first man to actually be in the delivery room with, with the woman giving birth, probably since we left the caves. All she told me was that it was a beautiful, natural thing. Well, it might be natural. The beauty kind of escaped me, to be quite frank. And I remember thinking to myself, I wouldn't do this for anybody. And I stand by that. It's a good thing men don't have babies. But I got to hold him when he was born. And his eyes were open and he didn't cry. And he looked right at me, and I looked into those deep blue eyes, because they all have blue eyes. And I thought, you know what? You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. So today I thank God for the chance that I had to raise him. Was I perfect? No. Do I go down the rabbit hole late at night thinking of ways I could have been a better dad? Yes. It's what we do. We're parents. But I did my best in a lot of ways to be fun with him, to grow up with him, to be the kind of dad that I didn't have, to protect him from the kinds of abuse that I had endured. And so I rejoice today in my inheritance from Christopher. So what is that inheritance? I've been thinking about that. I'm not afraid to just be myself after his passing. I'm not afraid to stand up for those who are picked on or bullied or judged, particularly in the institutional church. I've always had a soft spot for the divorced and remarried and, GLBTQ community, because I know what that feels like to be judged. I'm always trying to be more spontaneous and less planned, less organized in my life. I'm trying to be more hilarious. I don't know if that's working or not. But I'm always down to clown to make other people smile. And just like Chris, I am not afraid to get my hands dirty. I'm not afraid to work hard. I am not afraid to be more today, even by just a smidge, a little bit more today than I was yesterday. I've also inherited from him a willingness to sacrifice my personal comfort for the sake of others, for the sake of justice. And I'm committed to eating all of the fresh oysters and all the prime rib and all the giant prawns I can get my hands on in this life. Because life is a banquet. And why are we dieting? But mostly, the best part, I think, of that inheritance is that I am living in this moment for the most part, accepting the fact that today could be my last. So am I going to be a miserable, crusty old man bitching at kids cutting across my lawn? Well, maybe. Or am I just going to bask in the sunlight? Like today, it's imaginary sunlight, but powerful and warm nonetheless. Am I just going to do it? Just love this life? Because it could be my last. As I learned from his car accident, which he was not at fault, someone else fell asleep at the wheel. Someone else ran a red light. Someone else ended his story. That could happen to anyone. That could happen to me. So, yes, I try to eat well. Yes, I take my atorvastatin. Yes, I, try to take care of myself. But at the end of the day, all of this could come to a screeching halt because of some other jerk. So I'm going to get the most out of every day. I'm going to be in the present moment, because this is the lesson, I think, the one that is really big. That's where God is. God is in this present moment. God is not in the rabbit hole of the past where I go traveling every now and then on a sleepless night. God is not in the future somewhere where I am, wondering how this is all going to end, how addiction is ever going to get under control, how many lives can I impact in a positive way and try to stem the tide of fentanyl deaths. Oh, another sleepless night right there. That's a recipe for crazy. But Chris taught me, live this moment. Eat some prime rib. Don't be afraid. Just don't be afraid. So today, a mostly happy day. Bittersweet in some ways, but mostly happy. Gratitude for what was. Gratitude that I had him at all. Gratitude that this life, even when it sucks, is freaking amazing. This is the day our God has made. Let's not be afraid to rejoice. Twerk a little bit. Love life a little bit. And do some straight up rejoicing. Pray with me. Mighty, ever-present, ever-loving God, we come into your presence in this moment, thankful for all those who have come before us, who have taught us the meaning of love and commitment and justice and kindness. Help us today to fully live into the words of the psalmist, who tells us that this is the day you have given us. Help us to rejoice. Help us to be glad today, no matter what we are going through. Thank you for the gift of life, as fragile and tenuous as it may be. Help us to be today mindful that we are at the banquet of life, even if our hearts are breaking. Or maybe especially because our hearts are breaking. For all of the gifts, all of the inheritances, all of the opportunities to be our best self, we thank you. Amen. Today is the day God made for you.